Hello! So this is my first entry for Saturday Art and my alternative classes at Leaves of Learning and Tedman School of Music. So I just thought it'd be fun to do this for just a couple minutes. I don't have much time, but just go over a little bit of what I learned. I just want to read to you the instructions that I gave the children. I elaborated a lot more than what I have written down here, but I just thought it'd be beneficial to read it out loud so you get an idea of my notes when communicating with the kids. So what I said was, semiotics is the study of signs and symbols as a form of communication. It is a science which studies the role of signs as a part of social life. It is a part of social psychology. Semiotics can consist of images, gestures, music, sounds, objects, and many more. And so I gave examples of different images that people might see, like signs on the street, which are pretty obvious examples. And I asked them, okay, what kind of signs do you see? And they all said like stop sign, but one girl said yield sign. I'm like, do you even know what yield means? And she was like, no. So I explained it. And then I talked about advertisements and how they're trying to appeal to the viewer and get them to buy a certain type of product, and just how different advertisements have different emotions and moods to them. And so like one example which I discussed in class, you might remember, about ice cream. It was called Connoisseur, and it was like super fancy looking, elegant. The ice cream was scooped in a very like curvy kind of way, and it was like just really interesting. And so I was like, well, this ice cream is obviously appealing to the upper class citizens, saying this ice cream is rich, why don't you buy this one? And then there was another example of products, a bunch of products. They were like simple, plain, with organic matter on them. So they had like a wheat or a certain kind of plant or oats or just different kind of things. And I'll have to show the camera. I'll have to show you guys the books and discuss a little bit more sometime because it'll be nice. But so that was really cool, and I was like, look at this. They're trying to appeal to simplistic culture and people who like to purchase organic things, saying that this is the right thing to do, this is simple, this is straightforward, this is correct. And so then I talked about sounds and music, and how like music notes are a form of communication. They're communicating a message to the musician, telling them what they want them to do through playing the instrument. So like, and one girl actually came up with it on her own. I thought she was brilliant, because usually I brought it up first, but then she brought it up, and I'm like, spot on, girl. And so she was like, music notes, and then she started naming off all these different notes. I'm like, that's great. She understands this really well. Then we talked about sign language and how that's a very obvious form of signs and communication, signs and symbols as communication without actually talking. And body gestures, so I demonstrated like what you do when you're mad, or if you want someone to come across from the room without saying anything to them, you're like, come over, but you're just like, or just with saying hi without saying anything, you wave. And I talked about Chipotle and how that advertises to the viewer, like, because there's all these billboards I see where there's one I always drive past on my way to school. It says stop staring, and it just has a big old wrapped aluminum foil burrito, and I'm like, oh, okay. And like, if you didn't go to Chipotle, you won't know what that is. Like, but if you've gone to Chipotle, you realize that it's a really yummy food, and like, ooh, I want Chipotle now. So that's what they're doing with advertisements. So to move on away from that, with what I wanted the students to learn through the lesson, and writing out the words, I wanted them to use problem solving, creative thinking, observation, art appreciation, planning, and collaboration. And I feel like I did all of those in a way. I don't know necessarily about collaboration besides like them just writing out the words and realizing that someone else is going to draw them out. That could be a form of collaboration, but unintentional really. It's just like, you know, it's bound to happen, but it's not like, I don't know. But, so, I mean, definitely has a big part of problem solving, creative thinking, and planning. That's a really big part in this project. They're thinking abstractly, creatively, using all these different words, and I think they're really getting benefit from it. And I don't really want to talk about these other topics right now, just because I don't want to have to elaborate how I just did with explaining the signs and symbols that you see every day. So I'm just going to read to you for a minute. This is basically what I explained to them with just explaining the topic to them. This is what I wanted to express through the lesson. So for this project, we will each be writing a minimum of 8 words. These words are a form of semiotics which we have come in contact with in our day-to-day lives. I want you to use creative thinking to use these words to create an original art piece that expresses the essence of all of these words combined. How do you interpret and connect the words in a way which is relatable to you using semiotics? And so then there's a bunch of